And let me start with the first, very important, I believe, question. Internationally, who's doing it? I mean, moving the government to the cloud, what are the experiences? Are there true benefits?
Okay, hello everyone. So, I think there's already a lot of government that have a resolute cloud-first policy from Australia, the UK, the US, Singapore, to help their organization move their workloads to the cloud. And if you look at why they do that, I think there's three main reasons. One is the first one, which is the most important, which is to deliver better services to its citizens. The second, I would say, is to improve their operational efficiency, and then to be more innovative in general. So, if I go quickly, we work with many governments around the globe along those lines, from helping them with collaboration tools, from the city of Manchester to almost half of the organization in Italy. Things that I'm most passionate about is the work that we do, for example, with the NHS in the UK. The government has access to a huge amount of data, and with that data, they can deliver really improved services to its citizens, especially in health, transportation, security.
Paweł, what kinds of, because we have those three basic models, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. So in terms of government, what is the most important model? Is it more like infrastructure because they store the data, or is it more about, software they use? And I look at Microsoft and I think probably you're more about software, and Google Cloud probably is more about storage.
I think that based on our examples and experience, we built now more than 54 cloud regions worldwide. All three layers are important. It shouldn't be neglected. And on the government, on the public sector administration, this what is our experience. The most important are data classification. So we are building this first of some analytical and some exercise with government and public administrations customers to prepare data taxonomy, which data should stay locally, which data can be in the full public cloud. We have a lot of experience. There is no one benchmark for the government cloud. I think Australia, this is what Ben mentioned, UK, also US is examples how they manage. This what should be clarified, that some countries are expecting for strictly classified data isolated cloud or sovereign cloud. And this requires from us as a vendors, Google, Amazon, or Microsoft, these three hyperscalers, a special approach, and this is the higher investment from our side. The most government, what I am observing, are building this hybrid scenario with this data. So some data they are living in country, and some data less sensitive can be in the total public cloud. This is what we can deliver, and I think that this is the discussion with also domestic cloud operator, which was launched late October last year. We wanted to build, in my opinion, the layer of data residency. And I hope that all hyperscalers will be able to deliver this. So data will stay, this sensitive data will stay locally. And this is for me the most important. This is independent. We have one example of very restricted cloud, military cloud. It's like Department of Defense, like our MOD. This is most advanced classified data. So this is based on my experience.
Which in case of the US administration, for example, there is a cloud, but it's completely private cloud, physically separated from everything else.
That is this famous JEDI project, what you can maybe have a look to some media, what is ongoing now.
All right, Adam, from a Polish perspective, what would be the keys, to successfully implementing cloud? There is something like government cloud, which is sort of under construction already, but there is also a plugin for public services. So,
So the cloud implementation, there is a lot of examples, including Poland. But I like what Benjamin mentioned about this, to have this policy to be the cloud first and so on. But in Poland, if you want to have this kind of policy, you need to be the cloud ready, not only from the customer perspective, so prepare the customer to migrate to the cloud, but also from the infrastructure perspective from the cloud area, cloud services. For instance, in Poland, maybe not only in Poland, but also in the CE region, we have a not necessary clear, maybe not proper wording, the global cloud providers not necessarily meeting the expectation of this region in terms of providing the services, the cloud services. First of all,
in terms of where the data is stored.
Yeah, one thing is the data residency. Second thing is this kind of liability shift. Mm-hmm. It's like you mostly have to base on the standard agreement, which is not necessarily covering all the expectation that the simple customer have. Second or third thing is the service level agreement. So there is somehow the personalized services which directly can be provided for the Polish entrepreneurs, and these things, maybe adding one more, to be also aligned to the regulator. All necessary requirements, and if you don't have this all things managed or apply in the way provided in the way for the customer in the way that they understand, they can simply use it and feel the confidence, there is a simple lack of trust. So we as we started this Polish cloud domestic cloud provider, this domestic cloud concept, we want to cover especially all these things and to convince that the cloud services are first of all available and affordable for our entrepreneurs, and are safe. Simply safe and secure from the customer perspective.
And there's a clear parallel between entrepreneurs and the public sector, basically, because we say government, but it's not only about central government, but it's also about municipalities, some of them fairly small, and with not such a large budgets, not capable of building a huge IT department with very expensive stuff. But the question is, and looking at it from the perspective of taxpayer, right? The question is, and I would like, very fast answer, yes or no, from each of you. Is cloud cheaper than on-premise?
Of course.
Cheaper? Okay, you say cheaper.
So the honest answer is much more complex than that.
Yeah, I knew it would come to that.
But ultimately, the answer is yes.
Okay, so the question would be how to find, how to look at cloud services to actually see the benefit. Because when you compare, virtual infrastructure to on-premise infrastructure, it's not so clear. Right, so what are your takes on that?
And the reality is also the cost of hardware has gone down dramatically. Right. But I think, if you're an entrepreneur today, being able to have access to a scalable infrastructure with state-of-the-art security, and I'm talking really for the three hyperscaler. You can read all the analysis from McKinsey, Gartner, whatever. The security that the cloud provider are giving is way above anything that you can find on-prem these days. The fact that your hardware is updated all the time, you don't have to buy it. It's automatically updated. It's auto-patch for security. And you have access also to computing power that you couldn't dream about. I was, for example, yesterday with the founder of DeepMind, Demis Hassabis, who's built a company purely on cracking intelligence. That's his mission. And he accepted to be bought by Google for one reason: access to computing power. So now it's available to the cloud, to everyone, but we don't realize how this was unheard of and impossible. And today to have entrepreneurs and startups that can have access to this computing power at scale around the globe, that's a luck that you cannot bypass.
So how does it look?
I think that having the three cloud layers, IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS, the biggest difference where you can really show the differentiator between on-premise and cloud architecture is this highest layer, services layer. And based on our experience, and this is my observation from last 5-6 months, domestic cloud can be first time in a Polish history to build some services available from the cloud and to play a role as a broker to the market. You mentioned, Roman, of public government institution, but we have to remember that Poland has some specific. We have number of large state-owned enterprises like power utilities, energy companies, some banks, insurance, with the government as a shareholder.
And in particular, utilities are part of public sector because they are owned by municipalities.
And even when I was presenting in Redmond our case as a country with this Polish cloud concept, it was unique. And some of our executives asked me a lot of questions. What was behind this domestic cloud initiative? What is really compelling even to the market? And this, how I am reading this, it's a kind of broker to giving access and really to grow from this 10% of the cloud adoption. Because to be honest, Poland is one of the last countries.
Actually 11, but 11. Yes, we're third from the last in Europe in terms of cloud adoption. Yeah. All right.
Yes, and we have just had panel with also Ministry Emilewicz, and we had exactly the same discussion that what is the necessary in order to prove, for instance, the usage of the artificial intelligence, for instance, in around the country, around the entrepreneurs. So we are saying that you need to have a cheap infrastructure, because if you want to grow, if you want to use all these engines, AI engines, for instance, to expand your services as when you are doing the business, then you simply need to have a cheap access to the computing, and that's why we are focusing this. Looking also from the financial sector, we see that the customer demand on the digital services is so high, so huge that we need to consume computing power more and more. And we know that because of we are listed on the Warsaw Stock Exchange, that if some financial indexes will grow too fast, then simply we will going to lose the business. So that's why we want to use the cloud, but from the other hand, we need to be maybe bank, of course, need to be prepared to cloud, but we need to have the environment which we can simply use in order to feel safe and to feel that the data of our customer are safe. And that's why this concept of the domestic cloud is some kind of mixed, because we need to play with some different cloud providers or different solution in order to have the best price, but assure this kind of services in the best financial model.
You know, the system is reminding us about Slido, so we're asking, obviously, on your questions. There will be no Q&A session in the end of the panel because all of them are a bit too short for that, but I will be very happy to include your questions. You know, we have this tendency to speak about companies, but we have to stick to the government, to municipalities, to public sectors. So, you know, the question is, have you ever thought about your municipality? You know, what it can really do in a cloud? I mean,
I think that
I'm still you know, asking that question because, you know, in larger or smaller organizations, there's also an IT department which has worked for a long time, did this and that, and would tell you that, you know, the cloud is not going to be less expensive.
Yeah, so
and we've anyhow spent so much of the taxpayers' money in the case of public sector, and you know, why
the
cloud?
last thing I expect from my municipality is to be an IT company, especially these days. Okay, I want my municipality to give me good transportation, good health, good security, and to focus on those things that really matter to me as a citizen. The IT infrastructure, I would prefer they leave it to somebody that knows this business. And that's really what cloud can bring to those municipalities. You know, there's one good example. We work with the city of Chicago. So it's a big municipality.
Pretty big, yeah.
At any given time, they have about 3,000 work going on in the city, you know, repairing pavement, fixing roads, etc. And that's cost a lot of money. Using cloud infrastructure optimization through machine learning, they've been able to save about $25 million. Just a layer of cloud and maps on top. And I think that's what I would expect from a municipality, is a better use of my money and services that serve me as a citizen.
Right.
I think that behind this municipality is that there is a concept of smart city, yeah, and I think that this what I am expecting from my local government, who is managing the city, is something that I will be also secure in the city. And based on this example, because Benjamin mentioned about transportation, health, maybe education is important, but security, we have some great implementation on New York Police. It's one of the largest, our city next on security level, where we are monitoring all New York City area. And to be honest, without cloud, I can't imagine that it will be flexible and efficient solution. A lot of cameras, a lot of storage needed, and a lot of also algorithms behind this solution. So this is the power of the cloud from the security level. I think that Poland has a lot to do here. I think the domestic cloud can accelerate also this process. Yeah.
Yes, and we need to also bear in mind this public procurement processes that we have. So this is one of the big issue that we need to also to somehow tackle, because it's without this we still have the processes which started from the beginning in administration, from buying the infrastructure. Then project then is last, for instance, 2-3 years, and after the 3 years there is the launch on the infrastructure that is already simply
obsolete.
Exactly, obsolete. So that this is this cloud solution, this cloud concept is something what we are. That's good, because we jointly with the Ministry of Digital Affairs we are cooperating. We're talking together how to use this idea that we are providing for the business, how the administration could use it, having in mind that even if they're going to build the internal government cloud, it will not cover the demand that the government have. So there is that's obvious that we need to provide this kind of service for the administration, but there is a long path in front of us.
And I understand that, you know, if we look at software as a service level, then cloud would bring, for example, analytics, which would be quite hard to be bought in the box on-premise model by the smaller, you know, towns, villages, and other organisms within the public sector like that. So that's for sure. And you know, but would you address the Big Brother issue? I mean, you know, because that's another side of whenever we talk about technology in regards to public power, we sort of are afraid that maybe there is too much in a way that AI can recognize faces on its own and figure out who's going where, and all this storage of data. Or just wrapping up, should we be afraid of that, do you think? Or it's neutral? Or
So I mean, there's two parts of the question, I think, is what it can do and what government allow it to do and what cloud provider allow it to do. I think we're very clear on the usage of data. The data belongs to the customer. It's encrypted by a separate key by the customer if it wants, so it's very isolated. There are governments around the planet that make a huge usage of face recognition. I think we don't need to name them. There are a lot of them on the planet. It's a matter of, I think, local law rather than what technology can do. Technology can do that.
Yeah. There was an experiment by a British journalist who claimed he is guilty of something, and it was just 7 minutes in Shanghai, which is pretty big and populated densely town, before he was caught. So, yeah.
I didn't name them.
But I understand if there is local region, for instance, that we are building in the different countries, have some, some legal and technical protection against some interference, for instance, of the local government.
Yes, but we have also, AI is a very powerful tool. That's why I think Google and an alliance, I think Microsoft is part of it, is the ethics of AI and what we want AI to do and not to do, especially. So I really encourage you to look at them. But it's guiding.
Let me on my closing. I recommend you on some Davos Economic Forum pages. There are available these ethics and morale aspects. Some working group cross vendors together. We are working. Our president Brad Smith, chief legal, is one of the leaders of this initiatives, and Google's vice president. So we are in progress here to prepare some propositions and some ideas to countries. Yeah.
So that we taxpayers can be happy with cloud and all the technologies that it brings to public sector. Well, I hope we have proved that this is not about head in the cloud, but really this is feet on the ground approach to use cloud in public sector. There are certain in terms of not different, but certain in terms of certainty reasons to use it also for simple economic reasons, not just the fanciness of the technology. So thank you so much. Please thank the panelists: Adam Marciniak, PKO Bank Polski, Paweł, Jakubik, Microsoft, and Ben Faes, Google Cloud.
Thank you.